you're looking to dive into topics on how to live a happier, healthier, more fit, and long lifespan, then you've come to the right podcast. Livin the Dream with me, Coach Damian Evans. Together, we will explore the topics on all things health, fitness, and wellness. Together, we will be lifelong learners on this journey to living the ultimate dream. What up, Dream Team? Coach D here coming at you from beautiful, sunny San Diego, and welcome back to the Livin the Dream podcast. And today, we're kicking off our recap of the book, Make Change That Lasts by Dr. Rangan Chatterjee. This is one of the best guides out there for making real, lasting change in your life. And I love this book so much, I went through it twice. And now I'm going to help imprint and solidify what I have learned from reading it by summarizing my takeaways with you. Shetty called this book Dr. Chatterjee's most insightful, inspiring, and transformative book yet, which is saying a lot because I personally have really enjoyed all of the books that I've read so far from him, and I've learned a ton from them. This book is packed with powerful lessons. And the very first chapter, chapter 1, it lays the foundation with a message that we all need to hear. Stop outsourcing your well-being. Start listening to your own body. Stop outsourcing your well-being. Start listening to your own body. So if you've ever felt overwhelmed by conflicting advice, fitness, nutrition, biohacking, longevity, if you've ever felt stuck in habits that don't serve you, or felt unsure how to truly tune into what your body needs, then this episode is for you. So let's get into it. The lesson that changed everything. This chapter starts with a deeply personal story from Dr. Chatterjee. The day that he said goodbye to his father for the last time. His dad had been battling lupus for 15 years, and during that time, taking care of him had become a central part of Dr. Chatterjee's life. He did everything, waking up at 5 a.m. to help get him dressed, feeding him, shaving him, visiting him multiple times a day, all while running his own medical practice. But here's the kicker. No one told him that he had to do all of this. His family never expected it. The doctors never asked him to do it. He had created this belief that his father's well-being was entirely his responsibility. So what happened? The responsibility really weighed on Dr. Chatterjee. Literally, he suffered from chronic back pain for years, spending thousands of dollars on treatments. It wasn't until his father's funeral, when he literally watched the coffin enter the cremation flames, that he had something incredible happen. Right as he watched that coffin go up in flames, his back pain disappeared. The pain that he felt wasn't just physical. It was the result of stress, guilt, and self-imposed expectations. And once that burden was literally lifted from him emotionally, the pain lifted physically. The body always speaks, but are you listening? This story highlights something crucial. Your body is always communicating with you. Dr. Chatterjee compares it to a bird song. Birds are always singing, but we're usually too busy to notice. The same goes for our body's signals. Subtle signs of stress, discomfort, or imbalance. If we don't listen, those whispers are going to turn into full screams. Have you ever had persistent headaches during a really stressful period? Have you ever had low energy that no amount of caffeine can fix? Have you ever had gut issues that flare up maybe when you're anxious or depressed? Those aren't random. They are signals. And if we learn to interpret them, we can change our health. We can change our habits, and we can change our lives. Let's talk about the downside of expert overload. One of the reasons that we struggle to listen to ourselves is because we are drowning in expert advice. Think about it. One influencer swears by fasting, but another one says that it wrecks your metabolism. One health guru tells you to eat plant-based, while the other one insists that carnivore is the only way. One health tracker is telling you that you're sleeping so terribly, even though you woke up feeling pretty darn good. The internet has given everyone a microphone, a megaphone, but too many voices can make us forget to hear our own. Dr. Chatterjee doesn't dismiss expert advice in the book. He is an expert himself, but he warns against blindly following anyone without first checking in with what your own body, with what your own mind and what your own experience says. Let's talk about a case study in the book, the woman who couldn't eat 30 plants a week. One of Dr. Chatterjee's patients, a woman who wanted to improve her gut health, she read online that she needed to eat at least 30 different plants a week. This was a challenge that was put out. So she tried, and every single time she tried, she ended up bloated, uncomfortable, and frustrated. She thought she was failing at this thing that everyone should be able to do. But the truth, that advice, the advice of getting 30 different plants a week, although it may be true for the majority of people, or it may be right for some people, that advice wasn't right for her. When she switched to a lower carb approach with just 5 to 10 plants per week, her digestion improved, her energy soared, and she felt amazing. So what's the lesson? Even the best advice might not be the best advice for you. Why on my list of 20 things that I've written down over the past 15 years of my rules for life, why is rule number one, do what works best for you? Even the best advice might not be the best advice for you. Let's think about the power of our inner wisdom. How do we cut through the noise and tune into what our body actually needs? Dr. Chatterjee recommends 3 things. Number 1, choose experts wisely. If a message really excites you, if it feels right, explore it. But use yourself as data. If it doesn't work, move on. Choose experts wisely and explore messages that excite you. If they don't work, move on. Number 2, develop self-awareness. So practices like meditation, breath work, and journaling, things that help you go inside. These things help you notice your body's signals before they turn into major issues. Develop self-awareness, practices like meditation, breath work, and journaling. And number 3, experiment and observe. Try different approaches. Pay attention to how your body and your mind respond. Become a world expert in you. We say it on this podcast all the time. Become the CEO of your own health. There are some tools here to help you listen to your body. If all of this sounds great, but you're wondering, how do I actually do this? Here are some simple ways to start. Number 1, my favorite way to do this is body scanning meditation. There are apps for this. I use either Calm. I use my Choose Muse app, which is a headband that can tell you what brainwave state you're in. Brain FM has some meditations that you can choose from. But spend 5 minutes in a quiet, dark place where you can be alone, no distractions, and spend 5 minutes scanning your body from head to toe. See if you can feel where you feel tension. What areas of you feel open and light? Over time, you're going to really start noticing some patterns. Body scanning meditation. Number 2, breath awareness. Pay attention to your breath for a few minutes a day. Is it shallow? Is it deep? Do you feel restrictions anywhere? Your breathing can tell you a lot about your stress levels. They've done studies on people who will look at their emails, and they'll call it email apnea. They'll find that these people, while reading stressful emails or even just thinking about all the emails that they need to go through, they start to hold their breath. That breath hold sends a signal to put your body into a fight or flight state. Dr. Huberman, he talks all the time about the parasympathetic sigh. So take a big breath in. At the top of that inhale, try to sneak in just a little bit more air, sip in one more time, and then let it fully out. Double inhale, exhale. One of the fastest ways you can take yourself from that fight or flight state into a more rest and repair state. Breath awareness. Number 3, journaling. Write down how you feel after different habits. So maybe after eating certain foods, you journal about how you feel. About exercising a certain way, you journal how you feel. Or following a specific routine. Patterns are going to emerge if you write it down. And number 4, mindful experimentation. Try something new for 2 weeks. Try a different workout. Try a new sleep routine. Try to change something in your diet. Notice how your body responds and then adjust accordingly. Tiny little changes that you track, you can use them as data. You are at the starting point, you know where you're at, you have a goal of where you want to be or how you want to feel. These little data points are just like little, if you've ever been hiking in the forest, sometimes people will put like little strips of ribbon next to trees when you're going the right way. So these are just little strips of ribbon. I was on a hike and there were these little tiny rock stacks. And at the end of this hike, there was nowhere to go. And we were hiking up this mountain and we wanted to get to the top. And these little tiny rock stacks would guide us up to where we want to go. That's exactly what you're trying to do right now. You're trying to track, am I going in the direction of that final goal? Or is that taking me away from it? Okay, well, now I have more information to use. Mindful experimentation. Let's talk about the trouble with health trackers. I love trackers. I love data. I love to wear all of my wearables. I am a huge nerd like that. I love to gather data. But Dr. Chatterjee also warns about the dark side of health trackers. While they can be helpful, they shouldn't replace your own intuition. If a sleep tracker says that your sleep is poor, but you feel great, you have to trust your body over the number. Studies have shown that belief can affect biology. Let me say that again. Your belief can affect biology. The thoughts that you think in your head create actual chemistry and electricity that can affect everything from the top down. If you think that you slept badly, even if you didn't, your cognitive performance will drop. The same goes for your step counts, your calories, your heart rate tracking. The bottom line, use trackers as tools, but don't let them control how you feel. I love using my trackers, but I do not look at them and I do not let them dictate how it makes me feel. What I look at is trends over time. The way that you should use trackers, any trackers, I've done this with continuous glucose monitors, with my Oura Ring. I use this with like the data that I collect in my daily spreadsheet. What I'm looking for is I want to establish a baseline. And over time, if I can get a baseline of months or even years, I know that that number is probably pretty solid. The more time that I take establishing this baseline, the more solid and the more that those one-offs can kind of be like, they can be outliers, right? So now I'm looking at making a change once my baseline has been established and then tracking what that change does to my baseline. Do I care if my sleep tracker says I got 7.5 hours or 8.5 hours? Do I care if it says I got 30 minutes of deep sleep or an hour and a half of deep sleep? No, what I look at is, did I drink that night? Did I stay up late? What does that do to my baseline average? Oh, my usual score is 73. I got a 60 or I got a 30. I know that that thing really, really affected what I was doing. I don't take the actual number to heart. And that is how most, if not all, trackers should be used. Our devices are just not there yet to be perfectly accurate. just like an in-body scan, just like a DEXA scan for your body fat percentage. All of these things tracking are great. They're tools, the weight of your scale at home, but you cannot let those things dictate just one time what you feel. The final takeaways for this is the formula for lasting change is number one, stop outsourcing your health. No one knows your body better than you do. Number two, not all expert advice is right for you. Experiment and test and find what works best for you. Number three, develop a practice of self-awareness. Meditation, breath work, journaling, they all help. And number four, know that your body is always speaking to you. The better that you can listen, the more control you gain over your health and happiness. Dream Team, this is just the beginning. We are going to go through this book and highlight all the takeaways that I got that I think will help this Dream Team live a happier and healthier life. This book, Make Change That Lasts by Dr. Rangan Chatterjee, is all about learning how to create habits that truly stick. And that starts with trusting yourself. We'll see you on the next episode. And that's it, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Livin the Dream podcast. Please share the knowledge that you gained with your friends and family and hold each other accountable. If this episode inspired you, share it with a friend who could benefit from what we talked about today. To support this podcast and help it grow, please subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to this podcast on, and leave a review telling others how this podcast benefited you. Leave a comment on this episode letting us know how you're incorporating listening to your body and becoming your own expert. This is a nice non-cost way to help get this important wellness content into more people's ears. And definitely go out and buy the book, Make Change That Lasts by Dr. Rangan Chatterjee, and support him and see if you can get any different takeaways from this book. Tag me at livingthedream_podcast or at CoachDamien_SD and let us know how this episode benefited you. Let us know what we missed and let us know what we got wrong. We want to know. Message us if you have any suggestions or tips that would help your Livin the Dream team that we can discuss on future episodes. I will be right here with you, working on making us stronger, happier, and healthier humans. Until next time, friends, keep living the dream.